to do the invocation, and Commissioner Walker will do the pledge.
Let us pray. Our Father which art in heaven, we thank you for the fact that we can stand up in this room today and address you as our Father. We know that there are many places that cannot do what we are doing right now, and our hearts are filled with gratitude that we can do it. We ask you in the precious, powerful, preeminent name Jesus to guide us, O thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. We are weak, but thou art mighty. Hold us with thy powerful hand. Open up our eyes so that we can see clearly to do the things that you want done for the people. Open our ears so that we may hear the cries of the people. Move our hearts so that we will respond to the needs of the people like Jesus would if Jesus were here. And we thank you. We thank you so much that you are willing to use us as individuals to make a big difference. And we ask these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the roll to establish a quorum. Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Chairman Dean,
Here.
Commissioner Walker,
Present.
Commissioner Sankey,
Here.
Vice Chairman Singleton.
Here.
We have, Alicia James. You want to speak? Signed in?
She may have been in the first group today.
Okay. Well, we do have a surprise. They're not here yet, but I guess we can get started until they come. No, that's not. Oh, okay. They took 5 minutes, so let's get started. I called the name. Yeah, I called, yeah.
We'll consider the minutes of the regular meeting of March 16th, 2021.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objections? So ordered.
We'll have a public hearing.
Hold on, slow. Gotta move,
Oh.
second.
I'm sorry.
We still don't move.
I moved twice.
Uh-oh.
I moved again.
Ah, there we are.
Got the second. Okay. Go ahead, Lauren. We got it.
Next is a public hearing regarding an alcohol license application for special events for Latino Festival.
Okay. I declare public hearing open. Anybody speak on the public hearing? Ma'am? What's your name? Okay, I just called your name. I know you were looking down. That's okay. Come on. Watch out. Look out.
Good morning. My name is Valerie James. I am a resident of the Snowden community and have permission to speak on behalf of the Snowden Community Board members in regard to the events being held at the El Rancho Paraiso Event Center located at 7625
Can
Jessie
you get
Road.
closer to the mic?
Sure. Jessie Road Lane, Montgomery, Alabama 36105, and liquor licensing. Okay. April the 2nd, it was posted, and I note that this is the first time that there's ever been posting at the El Rancho Paraiso Event Center that today there is a public hearing that an application has been made to the County Commission of the County of Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, for approval of an alcohol license for El Rancho Paraiso L.L.C. Last week, Montgomery County Commissioners attended a memorial for the 500 residents who succumbed to the COVID virus. I would hope those who attended wore masks and kept a respected 6-foot distance, as is mandated and strongly encouraged by the governor and the CDC. Since October 3rd, 2020, the El Rancho Paraiso has now had at least 5 concert bull riding events during this pandemic, where this Montgomery County Commission, along with the Sheriff's Department and the ABC Board, have approved a license to sell liquor. The community has not been made aware of and only discovered scheduled events on those days by social media announcements and flyers after the fact. Respectfully, we have made our County Commissioner, Doug Singleton, aware that we do not want any liquor license approved. These events began as a one-time event to 4 times a year to now planned 12 times a year. We were first told that this property would eventually be Mr. Valerio's residence. Now it is an event center. So you can see we are wary of these things to come. A November 12, 2020 community meeting was held where Mr. Brown, Mrs. Valerio, and Mr. Doug Singleton were present. At this time, we were informed that 400 to 800 patrons attend an event that lasts from 1 to 10 p.m. on Saturdays and 1 to 9 p.m. on Sundays, and where masks are provided but not enforced. We were made aware that the liquor license has to be approved by the ABC Board, Sheriff's Department, and the County Commission of Montgomery County at least 2 weeks in advance, meaning it is scheduled on a docket to be presented and approved at a set County Commission meeting for a special date. Now, what is coming. We found on March the 27th that the El Rancho Paraiso Event Center put out a flyer and video, since taken down, of horse racing. Again, we respectfully made Doug Sinclair aware, and he was sent a picture of the flyer. Our Montgomery County, this is the recap. The Montgomery County Commission, Sheriff's Department, and ABC Board have all approved the owner of a private agriculture zoned property in the Snowden community to sell alcohol to his 400 to 800 patrons at events that last 8 to 9 hours. At least 5 events during this pandemic have occurred where these patrons have been given the choice to or not to wear masks. At the same time, Montgomery County bars and restaurants are limited to 50% capacity and are required to follow the mask mandate. Mr. Valerio states that he has a business license for these events. There seems to be a double standard regarding our community when it comes to safety. We do not think the pandemic and masks are a hoax. The only thing we have in this whole situation is a voice about the liquor license, and we say no. Thank you.
Mr. Singer, would you like to make a
Yeah,
comment?
Valerie, thanks for coming. Valerie has called me, I guess, the last 2 or 3 events they've had out there. She has called me on the phone about the noise, and I have addressed it with them, and hopefully they have turned it down. On the alcohol, we can deny them alcohol license, and they can bring all the coolers in there they want, and they could drink all they want on that property during the, and we can't stop them no more than I can stop Florence Carlton, who lives out that area in the unincorporated area, from having a football party and bringing all the alcohol she wants. The reason that I was in favor of doing an alcohol license is because it puts the burden back on them. They have to monitor it. They charge so much for the alcohol that they cut people off if they get to the point. But there's one way that we can still govern how much alcohol is being sold, because they have the responsibility now. If I go out there to the festival and I take my own cooler, I could take 20, 24 beers and drink them all if I wanted to.
And that is your choice.
That is my choice. I'm thinking about the safety of the people, just like the other events that we have here in Montgomery, where they do have a liquor license. We can control it, and they have responsibility through the ABC board now. If I don't do that, there's no responsibility.
No, there is still a responsibility that they do have, which we mentioned at the meeting, that if somebody is drinking and they leave that area, the person that is still responsible. That was brought up by a retired police department.
And that's why that's why I'm in favor. I don't have an issue with liquor license, because I can control it better if they're serving it all. They
Well-
don't allow anybody in with any, so we know exactly how much alcohol is being served.
But they also have to have a license to cater food out there. So that is something that can still be looked at to see. There is a health issues that are there. They still would have to have a liquor, it still would have to be looked at as far as that. As far as the liquor license, this is our voice. This is the only thing that we have, and if we can say no to this, because we can't say no to anything else that they're doing out there.
No. you
We do
can't.
not want to have a liquor license for this facility.
Okay.
And they're not violating capacity, because they have got hundreds of acres of property there. So there's no way I could say, just like we had the rodeo, a couple of weeks ago. It was inside the Coliseum. There was a capacity to it, but it's wide open spaces, so.
Exactly. But are they
And-
wearing masks? My concern is that, this is something that if they keep on doing this, and they're doing something else, and then they're doing something else. They're telling us 1 time, 4 times, now 12 times. And now we have, where they have a video from the area showing horse racing.
But now, let me address that one, because I'm addressing every one that you mentioned today.
Thank you.
Horse racing. I have addressed that with Valero and James Brown. They have built a track for training, is what they're saying. I will be at the next event. They don't have a booth for gambling. They're not taking money in.
They have a flyer where it says if you want to call a certain number. I think you have the flyer. There is a on the flyer that says that if you are interested to call this number.
We're here to talk about the alcohol license,
Yes.
not the horse racing.
Oh, thank you.
And so I give you all, both of you time to discuss it, and we must move on. Hopefully you all can continue to work together to resolve whatever kind of issues you think.
And
you
brother, I
got.
invite you on the next event to go with me. If you will go out there with me. I've asked people to go, that I'll be willing to meet and take you to the event, and let's look and see what they're doing. Because I've been to most of their events, and I haven't seen anybody from the community outside the sheriff's deputies.
Okay.
They're at the community. So let's go look and see what they're doing.
And see if they're
I
wearing.
declare,
Thank you very much.
it's closed. Okay.
Next, we'll consider accounts payable check.
No, hold on. We got a special guest,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I'd like to introduce to a few, but many, our Congress lady, TERRI Sewell.
Thank you so much, Chairman Dean, and to all of the county commissioners for Montgomery County. It's indeed an honor for me to be here in front of you today. I am pleased to join and to meet with all of you because I think it's really important that I thank you all for all that you're continuing to do to help the citizens of Montgomery County not just endure, but to really try to thrive in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic. I also wanted to, I think there's nothing more important for me as a member of Congress than to be able to vote in favor of some COVID relief funding that can go to our counties and to our cities. And so today, it is with great pride and honor that I talk about the American Rescue Plan. It's a $1.9 trillion bill that passed Congress and was signed into law on March 11th. The point of that, it was the third tranche of money to come out of Congress for COVID relief. And it was to make sure that we had enough resources to put shots in arms, to be able to put money in the pockets of ordinary Alabamians and Americans, to be able to get people back to work safely and get our children back in school safely. One of the tenets of the American Rescue Plan that's different than the CARES Act money was that we heard from county officials all across the nation, and I can tell you, I heard from the county officials in my district as well as city officials that they really needed resources directly, direct financial assistance that was given to counties and cities, not just to states. We heard you all, and the American Rescue Plan will provide direct money, direct financial assistance to Montgomery County in the tune of $43.9 million. So that's almost $44 million that will come directly to Montgomery County. This money can be used by local governments to keep first responders, frontline health workers, and other providers of vital services that you all in the county provide to make sure that we're fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that local governments will need more direct assistance to develop local vaccination plans, to pay frontline employees overtime, and even hazard pay is allowable under this particular funding. And I know that you will continue to provide essential services to our families and our neighborhoods, and I just want folks to know that help is indeed here. With the $43.9 million, I know that this can be transformational for so many counties and local governments in my district. The guidelines is currently being promulgated by the Department of Treasury, and the Treasury will come out with those guidelines in the next few weeks as to how that money is to be spent. But I can tell you that I know that the folks in Montgomery County will be counting on you all to do the right thing and make sure that this money is expended for COVID relief, and that you do so expeditiously, but you also do so as good stewards of these resources. You have always been that, and I look forward to working and partnering with you all. This money will come in two tranches. The very first tranche of the money will come 60 days from enactment, and it will be half of the money given to you all. So you'll receive half of your funding by May, and those guidelines, as I said, are being promulgated by the Secretary of Treasury. The funds must be expended by December 31st, 2024, and we know that this is a really important, and the second tranche will come a year later. So you will get the first tranche in May of 2021, and the second tranche in 2023. I also just wanted to want you all to understand how this fits in with the direct impact to our overall state. The state of Alabama will receive $2.3 billion. $1.8 billion will come to municipalities in the state of Alabama and counties in the state of Alabama. So that's $1.8 billion overall. This is transformational money that I know that you all will use to help our citizens. I also have to say that I have heard from my constituents that many of them have already received their $1,400 stimulus checks. 91% of Alabama adults will receive that stimulus check, and what's also remarkable is that 92% of all children under the age of 16 will also get those stimulus checks. That's how we will stimulate this economy and get ourselves back. We'll build back better. I want to close by again thanking you for the opportunity to be here today. I welcome any questions that you may have about this particular funding, but I also want you to know that the citizens of this district will receive on total $473 million, just my district alone, in direct assistance to local governments. This is truly transformational money, and I also wanted to let you know that the Montgomery County school system will also be a beneficiary. So many of us in Congress have heard directly from parents that during this pandemic, while we've had to do virtual learning in order to save lives, we also know that our kids may be behind because of the virtual learning. And so we have specifically provided for $129 million for Montgomery County schools, $129 million for Montgomery schools, so that we can not only open back our public schools safely, but we can also deal with remedial learning that we know will be critically important to our children, to make sure that they get through this pandemic not only smarter, but that they do so, they're able to catch up. So that's critically important to you. The city of Montgomery will also receive money, and I look forward to talking to Mayor Reid about that later today. But the city will receive money, $42 million is what they will receive. So I just want to close by saying that I have enjoyed our partnership, working together on behalf of the citizens that we all represent. I look forward to our continued efforts to work together, and I also look forward to working with you as you get the guidelines for how this money can be spent to make sure that we're spending it effectively and efficiently for the people of Montgomery County. With that, I also would love to present a check. So I don't know if Chairman Dean, you and your county commissioners would join me. I think that it's a great day for the citizens of for the citizens of Montgomery to receive $44 million from the federal government to help them be able to not only survive but thrive during this pandemic. Thank you all for this opportunity. Commissioner, Chairman. Looks like Hannah wants to take one in the back.
Did you say the Montgomery Public Schools get $129 million?
Montgomery County Public Schools will get I got a question from one of the commissioners, and I wanted to answer it. So the question was, will the money be able to be used for infrastructure? And yes, it is. What we heard from the League of Cities, from county commissioner associations around the country, is that you all needed the money to be able to be prepared for the next big, disaster or God forbid, another plague virus coming our way. So the money can be used. It will be for COVID-related relief infrastructure, but the plan is that some of that money can be used for that, as well as for hazard pay for some of your essential workers. That was the impetus behind it, and also for lost revenue. So to the extent that because of the COVID pandemic, revenues were not what they were supposed to be in cities and counties, we heard you that the money for CARES was not. We said no lost revenue can be used to plug those holes, but we in the American Rescue Plan all of us were very cognizant that lost revenues needed to be able to be plugged through this COVID money. I also just wanted to say, because you asked about infrastructure, that I look forward to coming back to this county commission and talking about the American Job Plan. I think that all of us have realized through this COVID-19 pandemic the systemic disinvestments in healthcare. We've realized the systemic disinvestments in infrastructure like broadband and water and sewer, that this pandemic has really laid bare the need for us to have more resources geared towards infrastructure. And so President Biden announced, and I look forward to going back to Congress next week and getting more information about this, but look forward to being supportive of a $2 trillion American jobs plan for infrastructure. Seems to me, and I know all of you will probably agree, that this should be bipartisan because at the end of the day, infrastructure benefits everyone. It doesn't matter if you're red or blue. It's about being an American and being meeting infrastructure. Critical infrastructure is so important, and so it not only will create jobs currently, a big stimulus infrastructure plan, but it also will build the highways, byways, and freeways of the future. And so it's a win-win. So I look forward to coming back to the County Commission and talking about the American Jobs Plan. And I plan on being fully supportive of that. It saddened me that I was the only member of Alabama's congressional delegation to vote in favor of the American Rescue Plan, but I'm here to tell you that it's really about people and about helping the people that we all represent. So thank you very much.
And we thank you for your
Thank
courage.
you.
Amen.
It's because only 9% supported COVID relief. Only 9% of the 1.9 trillion supported COVID relief. Is why the others didn't support it. The rest was all pork. 9% of the 1.9 trillion.
They gonna send that $2.4 billion back. What did you say? Will they send it back?
I don't know what you're
I
talking
doubt
about.
it.
It was just.
Okay,
9%.
let's move on. We'll pick up where we left off at.
Consider an alcohol license application for special events retail for a Festival Latino on April 17th, 2021.
Did we do the, Florence,
Gotta
did
do
we do the
the
checks, payroll checks?
I'm sorry. Consider the accounts payable checks and payroll checks.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered. Got to go to.
Isaiah, you second that? Rhonda,
I did.
he did it.
I did it.
Takes
There
two.
you go.
Consider an alcohol license application for special events retail for Festival Latino for April 17th, 2021.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered. What I do then?
Waiting on Isaiah and Chairman Dean.
I'm hitting it, but it ain't.
Hold it again.
I'm hitting it, but I gotta. See there? Right there? Touch it, touch it, touch it.
All right.
Let's go.
He's working out for the abstain.
Oh, my bad.
Consider purchase and sale agreement with Premier Tech for a 12-acre site in the Montgomery Industrial Park and related transactions.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered. Thank you. Sir? Waiting on you. There we go.
Consider an agreement with Black Bear Alabama One L.L.C. for construction of electrical transmission lines in the right-of-way of county roads.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider a letter agreement for funding intersection improvements on US 80 at Mitchell Young Road and related resolution.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider a memorandum of agreement with the City of Montgomery and the Moore-Zeigler Group, LLC, for the Small and Minority Business Support Initiative Program.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we vote on that, I want to ask you something, and I apologize I didn't do that when we were reviewing the agenda. The contract says effective March 1st for the Moore-Zeigler Group. We're already into April, and it also requires a monthly report. So my question to the commission is whether or not the Moore-Zeigler Group continued to provide the services related to the contract during the month of March. And if-
Nobody has been under contract
so,
since it expired.
yes, sir. So I guess my question is, why are we making it effective March 1st,
You got to change it,
sir? Yeah, because we're already into April,
I
so
know.
we didn't do any business during the month of March.
Well, whoever it would have been, we would have.
No, sir, I'm not.
Well, I would certainly, I think that's a valid question. Can we request a report for the month of March with whoever gets this contract? If it's backdated, I assume they're going to get back paid.
This was the contract as it was submitted in anticipation of it being taken under consideration earlier. I don't know what's been done with the city.
Nothing. And I don't see how we can pay anybody that nobody's been working, so.
So do we need to make a motion that it be dated effective today?
Did the Moore-Zeigler Group have anything to do with the couple of meetings we had last week with the Whitewater project?
Not that I'm aware
They
of.
was on, like other folks, they were on the phone calls too.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
In light of what Commissioner Single has just brought up, I want to make a comment, please. I read in some of the documents regarding the Whitewater project that, and again, this has nothing to do with me being for or against, but I just want clarification. The Moore-Zeigler Group will be the liaison for the minority and women-owned business participation. And of course, there's been a lot of chatter about this very, very large endeavor, and a lot of chatter about minority and women participation. So are we actually going to give that huge responsibility solely to the Moore-Zeigler Group as it relates to the Whitewater project?
Along with the authority.
So would
And
that be
I'm sure-
anyone?
I'm sure the county commission, we would still have our say-so too. We would be monitoring whoever gets this, we go have to monitor the minority participation.
But, I mean, it shouldn't be a foregone conclusion that whoever gets this, it's an agreement between the city and the county
Exactly.
with specs in it that absolutely does nothing for Montgomery County. Let me be clear on that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that this organization is going to be the one to do the Whitewater project.
I read that in some documents that I
I mean,
received.
you said, and I want to see those
I will.
documents. I mean,
I haven't seen that.
I've been misled, if that's true. I've really been misled, and the people have been misled if that deal has already been cut.
No.
You know, because this agreement, if you've read it and you see what deliverables there are, none of them are really going to help us do what we want to do. I don't know who drew this thing up. The chairman doesn't know who drew it up. Stephen, he said he worked on it, but nobody knows how it got here. It's on our plate. We're talking about doing business with an outfit that has had the contract for 3 years and can't even tell us the level of minority participation that we're in right now today. So that's my objection, and that's my no vote, and it really is discouraging to think that there are people considering putting them on that $50 million Whitewater project to help minority people develop. That's sickening.
That's not the case.
And that was just my interpretation of some of the documentation that I've read.
That is not the case.
Yes, sir, and I'm happy to hear that. I'm not, trying to be argumentative about it. I just wanted to ask that for a point of clarification, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. No deal has been made with the Whitewater case at all. Nobody's told nobody that they participate, nobody signed those contracts. Even the general contractor had not been signed up yet, so. And that's, all of that is forthcoming. We are dealing with the issue at hand today, not the Whitewater.
With regard to the business at hand, so moved.
Second.
Okay, any objection?
I object,
I'm voting no as well, because just
for the reasons I've already stated.
Right,
just a lack of
okay.
response.
All in favor?
Aye.
You vote your conscience, so what did we get? Two noes and 3 yes, motion passed.
You can't vote, Chairman. You can't carry the motion.
What you mean?
You
You
didn't.
can't carry the motion and vote.
I didn't second.
You didn't.
I did, I second.
Doug second.
It's on here.
Hmm? What you mean, Dan? I want to do right. What you talking about? I vote all the time.
Okay.
Okay, let's move forward. What's next?
Consider funding for 50% of 7 voter registration kiosk and related budget change.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All objection?
Aye.
Okay. 3-2. Okay, motion passed.
Consider miscellaneous appropriations to agencies. During the meeting, certain appropriations were added. $5,000 from Chairman Dean to ASU football, and $10,000 to Central Alabama Community Foundation.
So moved.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider miscellaneous appropriations to education.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider miscellaneous appropriations from designated revenue. During the meeting, appropriations were added. $15,000 from joint designated for Alabama Dance Theater. For the Council on Substance Abuse, $5,000 from Commissioner Sankey, $5,000 from Commissioner Harris, $2,500 from Chairman Dean, $2,500 from Commissioner Walker, $2,500 from Vice Chairman Singleton.
Move for approval.
No,
Oh, I cut you off, I'm sorry.
$5,000 from Commissioner Sankey to the Woods Dexter Ridge Neighborhood Association, and $8,000 from joint designated revenue for Kid One Transport.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider a bid award to Koppel Advertising for juvenile detention staff uniforms.
So,
I lost my stuff.
So moved.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider a bid award to NEC Corporation of America for mobile fingerprint collection devices and fingerprint identification.
Move approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Hosea.
Yes, sir.
Consider hiring a traffic control technician 1 at pay grade 4, step 5.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Oh, I'm sorry. Consider budget change request numbers 2 and 3 for the engineering department.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered. Ready?
Consider position fill request for the Board of Registrars for 2 administrative support associates.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider position fill request for the detention facility for an inmate grievance disciplinary clerk, 2 corrections officer trainees, and a corrections officer lieutenant.
Move approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered. We got it.
Consider position fill request for the engineering department for a fuel transport operator.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Second.
Yes. Yeah. You got it. Next.
Move approval.
Consider position fill request for the finance department for an account clerk.
So move.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered. Okay.
Consider position fill request for the sheriff's office for 2 deputy sheriff trainees and a deputy sheriff cadet.
So move.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider position fill requests for the youth facility detention for a cook.
So move.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
Somebody
Who's that?
said it, didn't they?
Who's that?
You moved, right?
Oh, Doug moved.
You, I thought you said.
Second.
Okay.
Any objection? So ordered.
Consider travel training request as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
consider a bid award to ICS Solutions for inmate telephone and video visitation services.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any objection? So ordered.
We have 2 waived rule items to consider. Consider hiring a Consider hiring an auto servicer at pay grade SO6, step 8 for the sheriff's office.
Any objection, waiving rules?
No objection, move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Consider a resolution granting an application to amend the certificate of incorporation of the Montgomery County Community Cooperative District.
Any objection, waiving rules?
No objection, I move for approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those are all of our items for consideration.
Anything for the good of the order, Mr. Attorney?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Singleton?
No, sir.
Commissioner Sankey?
Yes, sir. I don't know if you all saw the 60 Minutes report on Sunday. Well, Mr. Darren Walker, the president of the Ford Foundation, had the privilege of being interviewed. And of course, he's over a $14 billion endowment from the Ford Foundation. And he was talking about inequality. Of course, he's in charge of quite a bit of money, have lots of influence with people that are wealthy all over the world. Of course, the Ford Foundation, in and of itself, controls a lot of wealth. And so he was saying that we need to move from generosity to justice. And of course, he commented that generosity makes the donor feels good, but justice implicates the donor. And so it is here in Montgomery. I'm hoping that as we continue to spend the taxpayers' money, there will be really serious efforts made toward diversity and inclusion. I know some of the businesses that have multiple sites across the country, they have diversity and inclusion officers in cities where I'll just say the African American population understands political clout, and they don't have a problem using that clout. But here in Montgomery, for some reason, they don't think it's necessary to have diversity and inclusion officers. So I was just kind of interested as I spoke with people regarding the emergency rental assistance program and called them and inquired about diversity and inclusion. Even in Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, and some other cities, they value that, but for some reason, we just give it lip service. So I'm just hoping that with this Whitewater project that we really, and I know it's been a lot of chatter in terms of what we're going to do, but the provisions need to be put in place to really make sure that we really value that. And the only way to do that is to let everyone who's qualified make some money, because economic inequity is certainly very serious as we talk about social injustice. I'm concerned about whether or not everybody has a dollar in their pocket to feed themselves, their children, their families, to have adequate housing and other essentials of life. So as long as a few people is controlling their wealth, even Mr. Walker, Darren Walker said, we're really, democracy in this country is being threatened because of the disparity in wealth. And so I want to make sure that we at least give that some consideration as we go about the business of representing folks here in Montgomery County.
Okay. Commissioner Walker?
Since we last gathered as a commission, we lost one of our local leaders, Richard Bollinger, who served on the city council since 2012, died. He was diagnosed in December with lung cancer, which had metastasized. And then we lost him in March. It was very sudden. It was rather unexpected, as the family was private with his situation. But as I sat at his memorial service, it just reminded me First, obviously, how fleeting life is. And I believe it's the book of James. It says, we say, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but life is but a vapor. We can't say tomorrow we're going to do this or that, but we have today. So it was just a good reminder for me that we have today. And as a commission, I know that we each work very hard for our districts, just as Richard did. He and I shared the same footprint in central Montgomery, and he was at every HOA meeting. He worked very hard, as we do, for his people. And so I just wanted to mention him and his name and honor him. And obviously his wife Cheryl and his family are so devastated and brokenhearted. We need to continue to pray for them as they go through this process of grieving.
I wanted to challenge my fellow commissioners, teammates, to look at what that check over there for $40-some million. The city is also getting about $40-some million. And each one of us, like Rhonda just said, she and Bollinger shared the same footprint. And each one of us shared 3 or 4 city council people footprint. And I would challenge you to do what I plan on doing is getting with the 4 that I share the footprint with. And I think some of that goes along with Dan also, to see what we can do, because as a combined effort to use these dollars for taxpayers, that's almost $90 million, that if we come together and do what we need to do and spend it wisely, we can do a lot of things. We can change the paradigm of Montgomery with that almost $100 million that we work with our city council people. Because we even though you're city council, we county commission, we need the same thing for our constituents. So I would challenge you to do that, to try to have meetings with your city council people who share the same footprint with you, to come up with some priorities in your districts that you can work together on. And that's the only way we can get things done, is that we do start working with them, because it's the same taxpayers' dollars, okay? Even though they say city dollar and the county dollar, it's the same taxpayer. So I challenge them to do that, and we start working together to see how we're going to better spend that money. That's a lot of money. And then I was surprised too, guys and ladies, to hear that Montgomery Public Schools is going to get $129 million. So we just need to make sure that we spend ours wisely. So, and the only way we're going to do this is put our heads together. It's something we might be able to do together, someday we might not, but at least we can put a forth for effort to do that. Like I said, that's almost $100 million that invested in Montgomery. It could change the paradigm in Montgomery. Commissioner Harris.
I just want to kind of add to a little bit of what Commissioner Sankey said. I too saw that program. Darren Walker, he made it clear. He's a staunch and devoted capitalism. He believes that capitalism is the only way that a democracy or a republic such as ours can thrive and everybody can reach their full potential. But at this point, he is extremely disappointed with the biggest flaw of all in capitalism, and that's greed. He said that 50 individuals or 50 families control over 50% of the wealth in this country, and he thought that was outrageous. He also said that the biggest heartbreak for him about the system that he loved is that today, and some of whom work for this county, people can work a full-time job, go to work every day, and not be able to pay their rent, to pay their car note, to buy food, and to take care of their kids. In a system, in the ideal capitalism system, if you work 40 hours a week, you should make enough money to take care of your family, period. I don't care what you're doing. You're cleaning the floors, I don't care what you're doing. You're working 40 hours a week and you should be paid enough to make a decent living. And that is my goal for county employees. When I'm done, nobody at the county is going to be making $8 an hour. That's my goal for the county. And it should be everybody's goal. And this is someone who is filthy rich, and he buys into capitalism 100%, but he can see what the downfall is going to be, and it's going to be greed. There's absolutely no reason why a person should have $100 billion. So that's that. And then to Commissioner Walker, I too lost a friend. I first met Richard, Stephanie, his daughter, and I were in leadership Montgomery together. And she thought that he was somebody that I absolutely had to meet. Politically, we were polar opposites. He was right and I was left. But we were friends. We had lunch a couple of times, and I remember the first time that we had lunch was when we really got to know each other, and he told me his background, and I told him mine, and we shared a lot in common, even though our politics were different, and I considered him a real friend, and he is going to be missed, and I'm praying for Steph and the family, and Cheryl.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
And we'll adjourn to the conference room
Okay.
for exit conference.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Okay.
Sir. Keeper of the VA.